In 2011, a research team in Mexico City ran an experiment that sounds like a prank. They collected used disposable diapers from daycare centers, treated them, packed them into growing containers, and handed the whole mess to oyster mushrooms. 2 months later, the fungus had eaten through roughly 90% of it. The mushrooms that came out tested free of human pathogens. One of the researchers ate them and told a reporter they were cleaner than a lot of the produce at her local market. So when someone asks whether you can really grow oyster mushrooms on free waste lying around the house, sit with that for a second. Scientists have used this fungus as a waste treatment system. Your cardboard recycling pile is, biologically speaking, a far easier meal than a diaper. There is a catch, though, and it wrecks most first grows. Free does not mean ready. Almost every failure story I hear starts the same way, with somebody grabbing a free material, soaking it in a bucket, and hoping for the best. So, 5 substrates you can collect this week without spending $1, how to prepare each one, and which one contaminates the fastest. Why oysters can eat what almost nothing else can. Oyster mushrooms are white rot fungi. They secrete enzymes, mainly lacase and manganese peroxidase, that pull apart lignin, the stiff glue holding plant fibers together. Most fungi cannot touch it, so they take the easy sugars near the surface and stall out. Oysters unzip the whole structure and eat what is underneath. That is a big part of why the species called hiratake in Japan, pingu in China, and Austernseitling in Germany became the beginner mushroom almost everywhere at once. Food is not the limiting factor for this fungus. Competition is. And that is what all your prep work is actually for. Now, let's see. Number 1. Cardboard. Start with the thing already stacked by your door. Corrugated cardboard is mostly cellulose with a wavy air layer running through it, and that layer does more work than people realize. Oyster mycelium needs oxygen to colonize, and those little tunnels give it room to breathe while staying damp. Get it free from grocery stores, bike shops, or your own bin. Pull off every scrap of tape, staples, plastic labels, and glossy printing. Matte brown boxes are what you want, since glaze-coated stock carries coatings that stall mycelium outright, and a 2020 paper comparing paper types found exactly that. Tear or shred it into strips, then soak in water held around 150 to 160 degrees Fahrenheit for an hour. You do not need a boil. Drain it a solid half hour afterward until it is wet like a wrung sponge rather than dripping. Inoculate by layering. Damp cardboard, a scatter of grain spawn, more cardboard, more spawn, all packed into a bucket or bin with a few small holes for airflow. The beginner mistake here is drowning it. Cardboard holds water like nothing else, and a soggy layered bucket goes anaerobic and starts smelling sour within about a week. A guy I traded spawn with runs his entire spawn expansion on Amazon boxes, but he never fruits on cardboard alone. He colonizes the cardboard, then buries those colonized sheets in hardwood chips outdoors, and he got 3 flushes off one pile that way. Cardboard is excellent at getting mycelium moving, and mediocre at feeding a full harvest, so treat it as a stepping stone into something woodier. Next, number 2, spent coffee grounds. Now, the one everybody tries and most people fail with. Walk into any independent cafe and ask for their spent grounds at the end of a shift. Most will hand you a 5-gallon bucket and thank you for hauling it away. Coffee is good food. It is nitrogen-rich, it sits at a pH oysters like, and brewing itself pasteurizes it at around 195 to 205 degrees. You are getting free, pre-treated substrate. That pasteurization, though, has an expiration date measured in hours. Warm, wet, nitrogen-loaded grounds sitting in a bucket are a 5-star hotel for trichoderma and bacteria. Use them the same day they were brewed, or freeze them immediately. Grounds collected over a week are already colonized by something, and you just cannot see it yet. The second problem is physical. Coffee grounds are fine particles that pack down into a dense, airless brick, and mycelium suffocates in there. So do not run pure coffee. Mix roughly 70 to 80% grounds with 20 to 30% chopped straw, shredded cardboard, or hydrated hardwood sawdust, which props the mix open. Then use a heavy spawn rate, somewhere near 10 to 20% by weight, so your mycelium gets a running head start. Pink oysters handle coffee especially well because they run fast and warm, while blue oysters are the steadier bet in a cool basement. A woman in my local growing group collects from one espresso bar on her walk home, 3 days a week, and freezes each batch flat in a gallon bag until she has enough to mix. Her contamination rate dropped off a cliff once she started doing that. Next, number 3, straw. Straw is the classic for a reason, and it is free far more often than people assume. Try feed stores with broken bales, small farms after harvest, stables, and community gardens. The easiest window is early November, when every house on the block puts hay and straw bales out with the trash after Halloween. I know growers who do a whole season of collecting in one weekend. Make sure you are getting straw and not hay. Straw is the hollow leftover stalk after grain is harvested. Hay is dried grass grown as animal feed, and it is loaded with seeds, sugars, and microbial life that will outrun your mycelium. Chop it to roughly 1 to 3 inches. Longer pieces leave big air gaps that slow colonization to a crawl. A weed trimmer inside a clean garbage can does this in about 4 minutes. Then, pasteurize. Submerge the chopped straw in a mesh bag in water held at 160 to 170 degrees Fahrenheit for 1 hour, weighted down so nothing floats. Resist the urge to crank the heat because going past about 180 kills off the beneficial bacteria that were holding the line against mold, which leaves the substrate wide open to whatever lands on it next. Drain, cool below 100 degrees, then mix in spawn at around 5 to 10% and pack it into a bag or bucket. The moisture test that decides everything. Quick pause because this one applies to all 5. Grab a handful of your prepared substrate and squeeze it hard. You want a few drops of water to come out, and that is all. A steady trickle means it is too wet and you are heading for bacterial souring. Nothing at all means it is too dry, and colonization will stall out and never really recover. Most beginners eyeball this. Checking properly takes 4 seconds, and I have watched it save more batches than any other habit. Next, number 4, hardwood sawdust and wood chips. This is the free substrate almost nobody asks for, which is exactly why it is so easy to get. Call local tree service. They pay to dump chips, and many will drop a truckload in your driveway for nothing. Cabinet shops and small sawmills bag hardwood sawdust as waste. Just confirm it is untreated with no plywood dust, no pressure-treated lumber, and no MDF, because those carry adhesives and preservatives you do not want near food. Stick to hardwoods. Oak, maple, beech, poplar, and sweet gum all work well. Skip black walnut and treat conifers like pine and cedar as a poor bet, since their resins slow mycelium down badly. Wood is where oysters shine, because that lignin-eating machinery I mentioned earlier is built for exactly this. It is also slower, so expect longer colonization than straw or coffee. Fine sawdust needs sterilization in a pressure cooker to work reliably indoors. Coarse chips work outdoors with no heat treatment at all. Soak them a day or two, rake out a bed in deep shade, layer chips with spawn, and top with a few inches of straw to hold moisture. For the effort involved, an outdoor bed will outproduce almost anything you set up indoors, and hardly anyone covers them because a pile of wood chips does not film well. Next, number 5, yard waste. Fallen leaves and dried grass clippings. Free in the most literal sense, and a 2015 pilot study out of Mexico used exactly this, grass and withered leaves as a co-substrate for oyster production at scale. Collect leaves in fall, keep them dry over winter, and use them the following year. Let grass clippings dry fully before storing because fresh green ones heat up and turn slimy fast. Never use clippings from a lawn treated with herbicide. Leaves compact even worse than coffee grounds, so this one is a mixer rather than a solo act. Blend it about half and half with chopped straw or wood chips, then pasteurize the same way as straw, 160 to 170 degrees for an hour. Of the 5, this is the one I would rank last for a first attempt. It does work, but it asks more of you than the others and gives back less. Next, why more food is not more mushrooms. One last thing that costs people entire batches. You will read that adding bran, flour, or coffee to your substrate boosts yields. And it does. Daniel Royce at Penn State spent years documenting supplementation effects on Pleurotus, and the yield jumps in that work are large. But those studies run on sterilized substrate under controlled conditions. Add rich supplements to a merely pasteurized bucket in your garage, and you have built a mold buffet. Every contaminant in there wants those same easy nutrients, and most of them grow faster than you do. On free substrate, keep it lean and earn the yield with clean handling and a heavy spawn rate instead. Next, reading the warning signs. Your nose is the best contamination detector you own. Healthy colonizing substrate smells sweet and faintly like fresh mushrooms. Sour, boozy, or wet gym sock smells mean bacteria. Any green, black, or slimy orange patch means trichoderma, or a competitor, and that block goes in the outdoor compost, not your kitchen. Temperature counts too. Blocks generate their own heat as they colonize, so if a bag feels noticeably warm against the back of your hand, spread things out and give it more air. So pick one and start. Break down 3 boxes tonight or text a cafe about tomorrow's grounds. Cardboard is the gentlest place to begin. Straw will give you the biggest first harvest. And either way, the material cost you nothing but a little more care than you probably feel like taking. If this video is informative, then comment yes. That motivates us to produce more videos like this.